Hey, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Hope all is well. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving yesterday for those who celebrate. And everybody else, I hope you had a great day yesterday as well. Anyway, so here's the video. It's a conundrum because I do not know what to call this video. It's going to be my 10 favorites, I guess, alternative rock, alternative metal albums of the 90s. I picked 10. I have several honorable mentions that I'll show at the end of the video, but pretty much I just picked out some albums that I kind of went back to, and during the time period, of course I was listening to a lot of thrash and death metal back then. These are the offshoot bands, I guess, that was more mainstream but still heavy, I guess, and still eccentric. I guess that's the best way to describe these bands. I think this will be a great video. So grunge kind of just threw everything off in 1991. I remember I was in high school. Before 91, everybody was it was all about glam and thrash, pretty much. 91 hit, Nirvana released Teen Spirit, which is it was odd back then because nobody knew what this was. Basically, it was heavy but poppy at the same time. So it had a little bit of the glam and it had a little bit of the heaviness that thrash provided. So everybody that's my opinion. That's why I think everybody gravitated to it. And it was something new. Everybody's getting tired of heartbreak songs that glam metal bands were putting out, because during that time period it was all about the power ballad. But anyway, I'm gonna get to what the albums that really struck me the most during that time period. That's not death or thrash metal. They have their own unique sound. So first one up will be this one, released in 1994, Nail Bomb with Point Blank. And this is an offshoot side project with Alex Newport from Fudge Tunnel and Max Cavalera from Sepultura. And I say Sepultura, I know everybody tries to pronounce it the right way, but I'm American, that's my accent, that's how I always called it. Anyway, Nail Bomb, this album right here, I tell you what, my buddy Richie from Grave Heifer recorded this on cassette when it was released, gave it to me, and I went and bought this CD the very next day. And it's a unique album because it still has thrashy moments in it. It has kind of a hardcore kind of sound to it. Also has a little bit of industrial sound to it. And always dug this album. There's some drum samples in this that I always thought was pretty neat, especially on Chaos AD. It seemed like they were doing some of those samples. I think Arise, they had some of those samples as well, but this one has more of the industrial sounding samples and heavy ass guitar. I love the guitar work in this. It's a little bit repetitive in some parts, but for some reason it works. Favorite tracks on this is Wasting Away, the opening track. That's one of my favorites. I don't know why I like 24 Hour Bullshit. That song is so damn repetitive, but fuck, I'll be at work. After I listened to this the other day, I was at work and it was stuck in my head all night. Cockroaches is another great song on this. Just a killer freaking album, 1994. That wasn't the norm. It wasn't the normal stuff, I guess, in a strange time period. So, Nail Bomb, Point Blank. We used to drive around and windows down and blast that motherfucker. It sounds so good on a good car stereo system with a lot of bass. Next one up was released in 1992. Now this is the copy without Cop Killer. My cassette version does have Cop Killer, but the tape is so fucking messed up. can't hear it. So went and got this CD, and of course the CDs I could find was without Cop Killer. So it doesn't matter. This is a really killer album. I remember when I first heard this is Body Count, of course, Ice-T's metal band with Moose Man and Ernie C. and I forgot the other dude's name. They're freaking awesome stuff. But I remember when I first heard the first track on this was actually on MTV. It was There Goes the Neighborhood. I think that was the first single. And me and my buddy was like, holy crap. Went and got that cassette the next day, and I remember we was blasting it, and I was hooked on Cop Killer, the song. It's like, this is a fucking killer fucking track. And they banned it, of course. I think 1990 through 92, it seemed like a lot of bands were releasing albums and later having to take the track off because of typical horror. But this album right here, I always dug it because there's so many different styles of music in it. There's hardcore punk, there's a little crossover thrash in it, and then it goes back into some Black Sabbath-y kind of riffs and some Jimi Hendrix sounding stuff. Just a really cool, awesome album. And it's a shame I don't hardly ever see anybody talk about this one. But absolutely phenomenal. I listened to this, and this is the actual CD that got me into the mood I'm in of what I'm listening to. But yeah, absolutely killer album. One of my favorites from 1990, the 90s. Next one up, I remember it's another one. The first track I heard was on MTV. And it was, I think this was released in 92, I'm going to say, yeah, it was released the same time this came out. So the videos was There Goes the Neighborhood by Body Count, and then Sung by Helmet. I remember hearing that for the first time. I was like, man, that's got a pretty good heavy sound to it. It kind of sounds like hardcore, but like a watered down hardcore, but heavier hardcore, I guess. I guess it's post-hardcore. But this is Helmet and Meantime. I absolutely love this album. Just because it's so simple, and it's easy to play. You can play every song on this album, and it's fun, hooky, and catchy. Especially, my favorite tracks is the first track, In the Meantime. For some reason, that song during the summer, driving around with your windows down, and just blasting that track was something freaking awesome. I love the guitar tone on this. I remember they purposely, in an interview, they purposely left out guitar solos because what was going on in the glam scene, it was all about the guitar solos, so they kind of left that out and was rebelling, I guess, a little bit. But another album that I freaking loved back then, I still do to this day. Helmet with Meantime. This one is an odd choice, but I'm a bass player, and when this album first dropped, I heard Jerry the Race Car Driver, and I had to know what this was, and I got it. And it's Primus, Selling the Seas of Cheese. This is the only Primus album I still have. It's the only one I really like still. Released in 1991. Nothing sounds like this album. There's not an album in the world that sounds like this album that I know of. But of course, it's the bass work. I love the heavy drumming. I love the production on this album as well. The funky elements, the heavy elements when he wants to get into it. The vocals are so damn unique. Sounds like you're listening to a circus. And Jerry the Race Car Driver, I actually know how to play that on bass, but it's not as hard as everybody thinks it is. It's pretty easy actually to play. But yeah, I remember me and my buddies would get lit, go play this album. Every time I hear it, I think of Super Mario Brothers. We was playing Super Mario Brothers that night when I first got this album. And I don't know, that first track, it's just a trip. Just a super trip. Anyway, great one. And it just dates that time. Primus with Selling the Seas of Cheese. Awesome fucking album. This next one up, I actually like all their stuff, but this is my favorite album by them. It was released in 1996. And that's Type of Negatives, October Rust. It's my favorite one. I remember actually when I first bought it, I bought it on cassette. And when I put it in the tape player, I thought my stereo was screwed up, and I kept on turning it off. And I'm like, "Where's that sound?" And I turned it back on. The sound, damn intro, they put a little trick in it. And so, back then, when you very first hear an album for the very first time, that kind of stuns you a little bit. But man, this album reminds me definitely more of a. It was released in '96, but for some reason I guess it was 96, maybe the tail end of 96 in November when I bought this for the first time. Bought it because I love Type O Negative, still do to this day. But Love You to Death was playing on the radio, and I had to get this album after I heard that track. I was like, that is freaking awesome. I love every freaking song on this. The Green Man, Wolf Moon. Something about this album, it's really gothic. It's also very poppy. And to me, it's kind of psychedelic in a way with all the synth work. Some of the samples they do in this. Very well produced album. And Peter Steele's vocals are his best right here on this album. I've always loved the autumn stuff that in the picture. I have this on vinyl as well. And I have pretty much all their albums on vinyl. But for some reason I go to the CD more. I don't know why. Maybe I need to sell the wax versions. But love this artwork in this freaking CD. The music, it just fits all this that they were going for. It just speaks to me. One of my favorite albums from the 90s, definitely. Love how the 90s had their CDs made. That print, you could tell a 90s album just by the print on the CD itself, the disc. For some reason, they all had the same thing going. But anyway, that's a great one. And I think here's another one, man. I talked about this album a couple of times in videos past, but 1994, Corrosion of Conformity released Deliverance, and I remember the first track I heard on this was Cleanse My Wounds, and I love that freaking riff, that dun 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 dun. It just, there's not a song that sounds like that, and I love the guitar playing on that. The vocals are catchy. Pepper's vocals are awesome on this, but this is more of a, I don't know what kind of metal this is. It's kind of a doom stoner metal, I guess, a little bit. Probably proto, I guess. I don't know. Maybe proto is more Black Sabbath, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. I mean, this had its own sound, and it dates to that time period. I forgot CD. So that's going to be more of 10. It's going to be 10. With that album going next. But, it's going to be 11. I can't count. It's going to be 11 of my favorite. But anyway, yeah, this album, when it first came out, I got it and absolutely love this damn thing. It's a gem in my eyes. I love their first album, of course, but this album is, I think this one is my favorite, actually. I'll just say it. This is my favorite one. Just because the quality of the music. I love the sound of this album. Favorite tracks on this are definitely Clean My Wounds, Deliverance, the title track, that will get stuck in your head. Cast Your Pearls Before Swine. There's several others. But anyway, this one, hell yeah. Blast this one a lot back then. I'll go with this one next because it's kind of related. These two albums are related. Because I bought this album, and then when I heard that Phil Alessandro and Pepper were doing this album, I was like, I've got to get it. And I did. I remember my friend and I went to Stick and Ear here in Joplin, a local record shop. It doesn't exist anymore, but walked in there, and that's the first thing. Actually, when I walked in there, they knew I was a Pantera fan, and he said, "Hey, have you heard the new Down?" I was like, "What the fuck is Down?" And so he played it over the shop speakers. And Temptations' Wings was the very first song. I said, "Give me that cassette. I want it." Instant classic. Some doom metal, of course. Some New Orleans doom metal. Favorite tracks on this one. Actually, my very favorite track is track 13, Bury Me in Smoke. I like how heavy it is. And then Stone the Crow is another one. Temptations' Wings, Pillars of Eternity. That looks 90s. When you see photographs like that, that was on a majority of the 90s albums. They kind of broke away from the posing with women. Seemed like they're doing more scenes outside, walking around with no shirts on. Alice in Chains did one scene like that as well. But I definitely dig this album. I remember when I first heard it, I was like, man, it's so damn heavy. Kind of reminds me of Black Sabbath at the time. It still kind of does. There's one instrumental on here that kind of reminds me of something that Black Sabbath would put on their album. I think it was called, oh man, what was it called? I can't see it. Swan Song. I think that was it. The instrumental. I think there might be two instrumentals on this. I like Underneath Everything, Jail, Eyes of the South, Losing All, Stone the Crow, Pray for the Locust. That might be it. There's one instrumental on here that just defines this album. It just breaks up everything and puts you in this somber mood, and then it just takes you back in time. So Down with Nola. Fucking love this one. This is the one I forgot. So this is technically 11 albums. Actually, I'm gonna move one to the honorable mentions. I have a stack of honorable mentions that you would not freaking believe. 1997, The Misfits released Psycho, American Psycho. Psycho. So I bought this album as soon as I heard Misfits was coming out with an album. I was like, I gotta get it. So got it, and it did not disappoint. Absolutely adore this one. I don't like it as much as the Glenn Danzig stuff, but this is still a damn fucking good album. And I remember actually I could play most of this on guitar. Most of this album on guitar. Don't you miss the 90s had these fold-outs like this. But I remember, honestly, I remember listening to this. It was raining outside. And this seems like an album I can't stand listening to this when it's sunny and cheery. For some reason, I don't know why. This album is more of a rainy day listen. So it's one of those albums that I listen to, but it has its time where I have to listen to it. So anyway, Misfits with American Psycho. Love the artwork. Always have. Next one up might make a couple people frown. But when this album first came out, I didn't know what the fuck new metal was. Just knew it was heavy as fuck. I actually seen this band for the first time in 1994. Megadeth was actually on their Euthanasia tour. Seen them. It was Megadeth promoting Euthanasia. Flotsam and Jetsam, I think they were promoting Quattro at the time. And then this band opened up for them, Korn. They didn't know who the fuck they were. They were their first band out there. And all I remember is I never heard anything as heavy as this band back then. And I had to get this album instantly. And it's still an album that I'll never let go. I don't care how much hate I get for showing a Korn album on my channel. This is a good album. It is heavy as balls. Nothing sounded like it back then. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Another album that I listened to quite a bit. If I listened to this album, I'd always listen to Cannibal Corpse, The Bleeding. And they came out roughly about the same time. And my friend Robert and I both agreed that this album was almost as heavy as the Cannibal Corpse album. And somebody's going to slap me through my deal, but it's true. This is a heavy motherfucker. Really love the song Lies. I love that riff. Love the bass playing on this. Always thought that was a very awesome approach. It seemed like the bass in the 90s were getting a little bit more attention. And love the production on this. I love how it sounds. I love the guitar sound, tone, bass tone, drum tone, the vocals. Favorite tracks on this is, of course, Lies. Love that one. Ball Tongue. Love that one. Clown. Chutes and Ladders. And the track Daddy is so disturbing. I hardly ever listen to it because I can't relate to it. But I do love the music to it. So, Korn self-titled. Definitely had to go in this. And then, last but not least, so 1992, this is my favorite Alice in Chains album. I have multiple copies of it, but this is the original CD. This was released my senior year in high school with that helmet and different things like that. I just love this album. I love how dark it is. But I remember when I first heard, I think it was Angry Chair was the first song I heard off of this. I was in St. Louis visiting my grandparents for Christmas, and me and my brothers were watching MTV, and Angry Chair came on, and I think I bought this CD like very next day at the mall in St. Louis. Love them Bones. My favorite track on this is actually Junkhead. Favorite freaking song. Down in the Hole, Wood, Sick Man, you name it. Every track on this album is gold. This is the 90s CDs when you could just fold out stuff. And they had their unique color scheme. I always liked how they selected colors for their albums. You can really you know what's Alice in Chains album just by the artwork from a distance. But some killer stuff. So here's my honorable mentions. I'll just kind of go through these quickly. I don't want to make a long ass video again. Seems like people kind of avoid long ass videos. Days of the New, self-titled album. Listen to this one a lot. I didn't include it with this video. But it just another album I freaking listened to a lot back then. Another one is might surprise some people, but if you listen to this album in the context of this stuff, and then this is a fucking great album. You have to put your mind into that. So, Slayer's music, or Diablos Musica, when it first released, actually I loved Killing Peas. I thought that was a great song, but the rest of the album kind of took some time to grow on me. But it seems like there was a time and place to listen to it, and it's just in this moment with this style. Great one. I like Stain of Mind, Death's Hand, I like that one. There's another one. There's several songs actually. Everybody calls this the rap album. It kind of has a rappy moment to it, but it's not really that rappy, but it has that tendency, I guess, a little bit in some parts. But still love this one, Slayer. And I guess it goes with this, and the same thing with this album. Sepultura Roots, it has to be played with this stuff to fully appreciate what they're trying to do. They're trying to get with the times. I listened to the track Roots, Bloody Roots. That is a really good fucking song. I don't care. I freaking really dig that song. The rest of it, you know, it's okay. There's a couple tracks I like here and there. Some tracks I kind of skip sometimes, I guess. But it just, this is the time period. This one, I think this was released in '94. Zakk Wylde's project, Pride and Glory. Man, I still do like this album. I mainly bought it because Zakk Wylde was in it. And it's kind of more of a southern rock, heavy metal. But favorite track on this was definitely Troubled Wine. That's a heavy ass song too. Liked all the instruments he put in this. But definitely a time period that this goes in. I don't know what the infatuation with cows was, but great album. Another one, this one a little bit early in the 90s. Jane's Addiction with, what was it, Ritual de lo Habitual, or The Usual Habit. That's what I think it was called. I'm not even going to turn that on. Yeah, this one right here, I love Dave Navarro's guitaring on it. And I like the vocals. It's kind of a soothing vocal too, but still kind of strange. They released the album later, or that vocalist did with some other band people. I think it was Pornos for Pyros. I need to see if I still have that album. But this one I love. I love the Stop. Actually, one of the very first guitar songs I learned on guitar was Stop, because it's so simple, but it's hooky. Been Caught Stealing. Man, this is a great one. This just takes you back in time. Jane's Addiction. Honorable mention. The other one is Nude Swirl from 1993. Band's out in New Jersey. Kind of an indie post-rock album, I guess. I don't really consider this grunge. I know some people may, because it was released at that time. Kind of like some heavy metal albums get confused with glam metal. The same thing with Nude Swirl. They're not really a grunge band, but they had their own sound, and it is what it is. Love this album. This one. So I showed Alex Newport side project with Max Cavalera at the beginning of the video, and the reason why I got this was just because of that Nailbomb album. Anyway, I think this was released in '93. Fudge Tunnel, Creep Diets. It's kind of the same as that Nude Swirl. It has that same kind of sound. Also, what I would also describe it as is like you take the heavy songs Nirvana released, like Milk It or stuff like that, or Heart Shaped Box. This band kind of reminds me of that, in my opinion. Yeah, another one of the 90s that they all seem to have these weird colors, fold out. Love that kind of stuff. But this one's on Earache. Band's out of UK. And definitely a great one. I hardly ever see anybody show this at all. A lot of these albums, actually. And then the last one, honorable mention, is Temple of the Dog, which was the tribute to the lead singer of Mother Love Bone, which Mother Love Bone later got a new vocalist, Eddie Vedder, and changed the name to Pearl Jam. So this album was the tribute, and it's Chris Cornell, and I think the drummer's from Soundgarden. Maybe one of the guitarists is from Pearl Jam. I know Eddie Vedder also sings on Hunger Strike. Just a great one. I love this album. I love the vocals on this. Chris Cornell's vocals are amazing on this. Like Say Hello to Heaven. Of course, Hunger Strike. Actually, that was the very first track I heard on this. And Back in the day when this was 1991, so I would have been a junior, maybe a senior in high school. I think it was November. I was staying out in my parents' guest house, and my friends came over, woke me up. But I always went to sleep with the radio on, and I remember when I first woke up, the track Hunger Strike was playing on the radio, and I was like, "Is this the new Soundgarden?" Nobody knew who it was, but I looked it up at the store and found out it was Temple of the Dog, which was basically Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. Great album. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know what the title is. I hope that people understand what it is, I guess, in the title. Because it's hard to classify this. The genres are so everywhere. So I'm just going to label it what I said, alternative rock and alternative metal of the 90s. You all have a good one. Thank you. Bye.